Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on my program. I appreciate you wherever you are connecting from. If you are joining me from any part of the world, I thank you very much for your contributions on this channel. Please kindly subscribe if you have not subscribed, and also click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. In this channel, I bring information to your doorstep. I bring news from all channels, from every angle. Things that have to do about the world, things that have to do about Africa, more especially Nigeria. I bring it to your doorstep, some information that you ignore, some information that you cannot be able to come across. I look for them, I bring it to your doorstep for you to see. Every video you see on this channel is for educational purpose, to keep you up and get you aware of what is happening in the contraction called Nigeria, more especially. I bring the information to your doorstep. They are not lies. Most of the videos you're going to watch here are videos that are coming from the conventional media, and some of us sometimes are lazy to get into it. Some of us sometimes are too busy to be able to lay our hand on this. That is why I bring the videos to your doorstep. Watch from beginning to the end. Remember, these videos are for educational purposes, so that you can be educated and know what is going on. Let us watch together. At the end, you can go to the comment section and put down your comment. Give your opinion. Say it the way you feel it. Nobody's going to come against you. It's a free world, and this is the social media where people say it and set the record straight exactly the way it is without being controlled. Do that on the comment section. Let us watch the video together as it comes. Thank you.
Soon. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. But you know, sitting back and I know you kept tabs on that ministerial retreat, what transpired, the narratives. But the speaker, when he says the data provided there will be useful for them moving forward, also in Parliament, as it were. But there's also a lot of data out there which runs contrary to what the President appears to have said when he says, look, they have delivered on their promises. And many who are onlookers just wonder, wait a minute, against what context is he saying that? Because when they look at some of the other figures there, some of them fly in the face of what the President has said. But perhaps you understand his perspective when he says they've met the yearnings of Nigerians. How so?
When Mr. President speaks and provides, information, data, analysis, or even a summation or an impression of what he believes his government has achieved, that is the official record. That's the official record that are easily verifiable.
Okay.
Now, of course, citizens, whether the media or individuals or political parties or people who are in the opposition, are entitled to, they have a right to conjecture. You can't take that from them. People can, develop information and data to challenge official record. Now, the fact is, if this president says, for example, that the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, which the previous government struggled and never delivered upon, has been built, that is verifiable. I mean, we don't need to quibble about this. That is verifiable. If you go, I'm a Lagosian, as I said, I just did a few minutes ago. If you travel from Lagos to Ibadan today and, relate that with previous travels on that road prior to this government, it was a nightmare. But today is a much better environment to travel. That is a fact. And no one can obfuscate and make it look like this government has not done a thing in that access. Is it the rail infrastructure, for example? So when the president says he's done well, and he was very specific, he named certain sectors where he believes his administration has made an improvement. And by the way, I think we need to make something clear. Governance is a continuum. When you come in 8 years, no one should expect that you are supposed to actually deliver on a lifetime of vision or expectation. That is not the case. It's always relative either to the government before or even relative to the resources available for you to make those improvements. No, that's the standard.
But I think to be fair with people, they only take them up based on what they have promised. They can't take them up on what they didn't promise, because you politicians will always say, no, I never promised I was going to do this. That's clear. Everybody knows that one. So wherein comes this lifetime development.
No. But see, look, no one, I don't think this government, President Buhari, promised that, for example, that every local road in my village was going to be, made to first-class standard. I don't think that was the promise. I mean, if that was the promise, please, remind me, because I was a participant in that process, and I don't recall.
Let me remind you of this one, since you say we should remind you. In 2016, specifically in April, when they had this retreat, neck retreat, just like this one, the president spoke in that retreat, and it's widely published. It's out there for everybody to see. He was categorical when he says that his administration will generate 10,000 megawatts of distributable power over the next 3 years. That was in 2016. He went on and said, look, in these next 3 years that we have to do this. This is what they was previously promised 20,000. But here he spoke to say, no, we will give you 10,000 megawatts. Today, we all know we don't have 10,000 megawatts.
We don't have 10,000 megawatts. We have, at the peak, over 5,000 megawatts. That's about 50% of the figure you have just...
Over how many?
50%. 5,000 megawatts.
Of the peak of when? The question is,
we have
how often do we get to that peak?
That's not it. See, look, the question is, if you have a power outage right now, you're running the show. There can be a power outage, whether from a generator or from the national grid, this moment, in your studio. That does not mean that you didn't intend to power this building to support this show we're on today. Plans are one thing. Sometimes reality and accomplishment and the enablement to accomplish are separate. My point is that if there's a power failure right now, I don't think there's any Nigerian who's going to be there who's going to say, how dare channels, put out the light? Because you're not doing it deliberately. It happened. Look, the point I'm making is this.
Well, channels already knows that, and we have measures in place to ensure that that kind of thing
I agree. But the point
doesn't happen. So
I'm not trying to...
I get your point.
Yes.
The thing I'm trying to say is this. I mean, I'll even say that, at some point we understand that we have, up to 7,000 megawatts. But the question is, on a more frequent basis, on a more general and expectable basis, we know that our capacity hovers somewhere between 3,500 and maybe around 4,000 megawatts. That is what our national grid can comfortably take in terms of distribution. And it's been very difficult to get beyond that. So when you say 5,000, that is, how will I put it now? It's manipulating the figure somewhat.
No, please, madam. I'm not sure that that's even near what I have said. And I really wish to be properly, represented. What I'm saying is that our national grid has potential in excess of 5,000 megawatts. Generation, we are far in excess of 5,000 megawatts. I think everyone knows the promise,
generation,
yes, the distribution.
The promise here, the promise was 10,000 megawatts of distributable power. That's the promise.
That's the point I'm making. We're saying the same thing. I'm saying that even with that, specific reference or benchmark of, distributable power of 10,000, I'm saying that this government has moved us far from where we were to where we are now. Yes, given all of the fluctuations which have been explained. I mean, look, in the last couple of weeks, we've just been all witnesses to all of the revelations going on in our energy sector, in the oil and gas sector, with citizens who are Nigerians conniving with, others who may not be Nigerians.
While the president sits as the Minister of Petroleum Resources?
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that is happening under his watch?
Well, yes. Now...
Is that a success?
Hang on. You ask a question, let me answer. My point is, the President of the Federal Republic at no point, promised that in the entire territory of Nigeria, that we will have a crime-free society. A society where people who are devious, who actually, is that even, Chamberlain, please, Shamalin, when you ask a question, let me answer you.
Yeah,
please,
let me rephrase the question.
Please hang on.
No,
before you rephrase.
No, you are evading the question because we just read categorically to you what the president promised. And you left that and went to what the president didn't promise. How about responding to what he promised?
No.
Has he met what he promised?
No, Shamalin,
he's having a retreat. No. They're having a retreat.
Hang on. Promise. A promise is a promise. A promise is a statement of aspiration. It is not a divine covenant, which even God only may be able to deliver. You know, there's a difference between having, you know, a promise, as you said, of, you know, 10,000 megawatts with good intentions, with committed energy to make that happen. Now, what I'm saying that you must acknowledge, and which I think I expect Nigerians to acknowledge, is that in our country, like in other countries of the world, individuals, entities, businesses, you know, sometimes seek their own self-interest, even when it is inordinate and it's against the national interest.
What does that mean?
Meaning, for instance,
regarding this 10,000 megawatts promise.
Yes, the people who have engaged in acts of sabotage, of, you know, piping our gas to where it is needed to sustain that promise.
So,
Chairman,
are they more powerful than the federal government?
Chairman, you must let me speak and answer your question.
You've had almost 40,
because
30,
you're interrupting me.
40 minutes to answer. He promised 10,000 megawatts. It's a straightforward answer.
I've answered your question. What do you expect me to say to you?
What's the answer?
Okay.
The answer is this government is diligently seeking to deliver on that promise. And what I'm saying to you is that this government, at the peak of distribution, we have hit, you know, over nearly half of that promise, even when it has not been sustained as we would like, as this president would like. I'm saying that it is not enough to simply beg it. You must look at the circumstances. And I gave you the example of your studio. I'm sure your diesel, your generator right now, your backup generator, is probably filled with diesel. Your national grid, the national grid is, you know, pumping electricity right now. But at some point, it may be that even when the power goes out for whatever reason, your generator that you trust so much may also not deliver the promise of, you know, backup. All I'm saying is that these things happen and that there are citizens who are doing this. You ask the question whether the president, you know, whether this is happening on his watch. You know, my answer is, unfortunately, yes.
Maybe I should read this part again.
It happens everywhere else.
Part of what he also said was, we must, and we will put things right. In 3 years left for this administration, we have given ourselves the target of 10,000 megawatts distributable power. That was in 2016.
Yes.
And you say they're still trying to do this. The target was in 3 years.
Chamberlain.
It's straightforward.
You see, look, you know, you can be fixated if you choose.
I'm not fixated.
You are being very fixated.
I'm quoting the president.
Hang on. And I'm trying to say to you that that statement you're reading was not, you know, in any way a divine code. It is a promise to do the best under the circumstances of our country. Right?
Okay. Now, Mr. Maka,
that's normal.
Now, if under the circumstances which you're trying to let us understand, and then they are this retreat, what is wrong with the president or maybe his handler saying, look, we cannot gloss over what we have previously promised? So you speak to this and explain to Nigerians why they've not been able to.
Who is in denial of that?
No, but did the president reference this in this retreat?
No, see, look, he was giving a speech to a retreat. You don't expect that every minute detail of everything he's ever said is supposed to come into the speech. That's I think you.
Let's take a broader issue of security.
Okay.
You know, we know just where we were in terms of, you know, the security situation in 2015 when the president took over. As a matter of fact, in his inauguration day speech, part of what he said, he ordered the service chiefs at that point to move to Maiduguri because that was the theater of war at the time. But under the let's say the 7 years is now going to the 8th year that he's been on the saddle, whilst that of the Northeast might have been brought under control, the situation in the Northwest has now spiraled out of control. Yes, they're trying to bring it back under control, but nobody saw coming just what we have witnessed in the northwest of the country, spreading to many parts of the country, north central parts of the country, and also, showing its, let's say, its tentacles into the southwest, southeast. The southeast is another kettle of fish. But insecurity is at a place where a lot of Nigerians are afraid to even use this infrastructure, which you're referring to, especially in terms of roads, sometimes rail, as the case might be. We've witnessed that of Kaduna, Abuja-Kaduna rail line. So for you, when you talk about the president's delivery on the issue of security, how would you say that he's fared?
I would say he's fared, quite well. Again, before the next word, for us to understand that despite or in spite of the very best efforts of this government, of any government anywhere in the world, those who do harm, who want to do harm, will attempt to do harm. We try to do harm. Now, we put them on the record when they actually do harm. If somebody imagines that they would like to do harm to a country or to anybody without actually trying to do harm, without taking that effort and enacting the harm, it won't get on our record. It will just remain in their, in their imagination. But when they get out of that imagination and they actually do harm, then we, grab it as part of our statistic. Yes, this government has, had to contend with an upsurge of harm perpetrated by those who, consciously, deliberately, needlessly, without any justification, try to do us harm. All of us, each one of us, as a people. You rightly noted that in the northeast of Nigeria, prior to this government, we had swaths of our territory that were under the command and control of, external forces who are not legitimate, constitutionally authorized governments of that region. But this government has managed, and deliberately, with mobilization of effort and resources, pushed back to reclaim some of those territories that were lost to the control of these external forces under the previous government. Now, it's a struggle. It's a continuing struggle today and might be tomorrow, because the intent to harm us is not one that I can sit here and assume is over as of today. Now, of course, yes, you're right that we have had, again, an upsurge in the Northwest and elsewhere of, these tendencies to violence, perpetrated sometimes by people who are not even Nigerians, who are people from the outside. Asorock, for example, that simply thinks that we're vulnerable enough to come in here to perpetrate crime and, even earn resources to support their, terror.
Are we supposed to accept? Are the people supposed to accept all of this and settle with it?
No, please, Shamalin.
It's a question, so you answer.
No, we're not. Let me answer you. We're not supposed to accept, and this government is not accepting it. You make it sound like the government is simply sitting by and watching. I mean, you have just remarked about the fact that there's been severe, effort to push back, send these terrorists out of our, community to limit their capacity to actually, do damage in the Northeast. That is the fact. And it's because of the government's own effort to invest heavily in our military, to support our military, to encourage them, and to, ensure that we actually take on this menace.
Okay. There's a lot to go reference, actually, because even today, you see the reports. 11 schoolgirls of FGC Benin Yari still in captivity, 488 days on. So there are several references to all of this. So that's what I want to ask. Are we supposed to accept some of these things going on?
Nobody. When you ask that, that's first of all, that's a question you shouldn't be asking. Why would you even suppose or imagine that anyone?
We can ask any question. Any question. Any question under the sun. We can ask it.
No, hang on. You can ask any question you choose. But my point is that I think that there must be some common ground when we have these conversations.
Okay.
That common ground. Hang on.
We have a guest in Lagos, so let's not take all the time.
That common ground is that.
Don't worry.
We must admit that no one in this country, no citizen, whether the president or the least person in the remotest village, would condone or support or accept the idea that we should be insecure as a people. Nobody accepts that.
All right.
That's my point. There should be common ground.
Let's get to our colleagues in Lagos.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have been educated with this video. I hope you have learned something from the video you just watched. Please go to the comment section and put down your comments. Whatever you think about the video you have watched, or anything you have learned that you wanted to share together, go to the comment section and keep yourself busy. It's a free place where people share their opinion. And please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time a video comes out. And also, share the video to your family and friends. Share it to all platforms so that people can get aware of what is happening in the world, mainly in the contraption called Nigeria. We have to keep people on their toe, keep people informed on what is going on. That is exactly what we are doing. Every video you are watching in this channel is for the purpose of education and nothing more. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, bye-bye. See you again.